Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, October the 8th. We're still monitoring the likelihood for a strong coastal storm to develop this weekend and then ride up along the Atlantic seaboard, at least as far north as the Carolinas and more than likely as far north as the mid-Atlantic region. It looks like a cold frontal system that is now pushing through the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., will act as a significant catalyst to this surface low pressure area that should form off the southeast U.S. coastline during the upcoming weekend. Once that frontal boundary zone reaches the southwestern Atlantic, that convergence will intensify, as will a surface low pressure area, and it will ride up slowly along the Atlantic seaboard from later this weekend into the early part of next week. This is the latest model forecast from the European model. Just wanted to start off with that, and then we'll take a look at the GFS model. This is the 0Z run of the European model in terms of rainfall, and then we'll take a look at the wind gusts for the next several days. It's kind of an accumulated amount here of rainfall, and then we'll take a look at the highest wind gusts associated with this system. Again, the very latest European model run from 0Z last night, and this certainly has all the signs of that storm from this European model run riding up along the mid-Atlantic coastline with as much as 3.5 inches of rain, nearly 3.5 inches of rain right along the Jersey coastline from this system, and quite a bit of rainfall right from the Carolina coastline throughout the mid-Atlantic coastline and even into the southern New England coastline. Some impact from this system is quite likely, according to the latest run of the European model. Now, in terms of wind gusts, we could see wind gusts of 50 plus miles per hour with this particular model run here, all the way up to Long Island, down across the Jersey coastline, and of course, down across the Carolina coastline. So the European model is certainly bullish on this coastal storm to ride up not only along the Carolina coastline, but into the mid-Atlantic region later this week and into the early part of next week. The GFS also is quite bullish with this scenario, and I do believe this is certainly a scenario that could play out with this system impacting the mid-Atlantic region, the eastern mid-Atlantic region especially, from the Saturday night time period into the day on Monday. Well, let's take a look at the latest satellite imagery loop to show some of the key places to monitor here over the next several days and some of the key systems involved. Again, I mentioned up front, a cold front is an important player here. That cold front right now is located in this region. It extends from northeast to southwest across the Tennessee Valley, the Mid-Atlantic region, into the northeast U.S. It is producing some beneficial rainfall right now in places like D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, all the way up into the northeast. It is this frontal boundary zone that will continue to slide to the south and east over the next couple of days and end up right in this area right here. You can see kind of a disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms just to the east of the Bahamas. Once this frontal boundary zone drops into the southwestern Atlantic, it will set off a chain of events that will result in a strong coastal storm by later this weekend. This frontal boundary zone will increase the convergence, the low-level convergence in the southwestern Atlantic Ocean during the upcoming weekend, and that will start the development of a surface low-pressure system, which will end up intensifying significantly and ride up along the Carolina coastline, very likely, more than likely, I would say, up across the mid-Atlantic coastline as well. There's still a possibility that this system does not make it as far north as the mid-Atlantic coastline. However, I think that is a less than 50% chance right now. More than likely, this system will indeed impact the mid-Atlantic region. And again, we're talking about the Saturday night, Sunday, perhaps even into Monday time period for the potential impact in the mid-Atlantic region. Again, this cold frontal system will act as the catalyst for the intensification of that strong surface low pressure system. Well, let's take a look at the GFS model from 0Z last night. Up front, we looked at the European model run. Now let's compared to the NOAA GFS model. Here we're looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly pattern. Going forward, I just want to point out some of the key players involved. There's a trough this morning located over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. We'll push forward here, and that slides off to the east here by tomorrow morning. And this will have not only this initial cold front, there's actually a secondary cold front that will push into the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. later tonight, and the rest of the week will be certainly much cooler than the beginning of the week in the Mid-Atlantic, in the northeast U.S. And tomorrow night presents the likelihood for the first frost in many areas, many of those suburbs of D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, those northern and western suburbs likely to see first frost of the season later tomorrow night into early Friday morning. Then we get into the end of the work week here on Friday. We have right here some ridging building into the eastern part of Canada. Notice this interesting feature right here, and kind of an important player downstream here, an upper level low that will interact with this surface coastal storm later this weekend. We'll see that in a moment here. You can see by the time we get into the early part of the weekend, that frontal boundary zone, which right now extends in this area right here from the Tennessee Valley across the Mid-Atlantic region, just continues to move slowly to the south and east. And once it gets in this area right here, that is when all the action begins. That surface level convergence starts to intensify low pressure at the surface level, and that will intensify significantly during the weekend. And it then rides to the north, certainly impacts the Carolina coastal region with some heavy rain, strong winds, and this upper level feature here will help to intensify this system and likely pull it northward to just off the Mid-Atlantic coastline by later this weekend, early next week. So this ends up being quite an important player right here. You can see they kind of consolidate by the time we get to next Monday morning. At this particular time, you could have a very strong surface low pressure area somewhere right along or just off the Mid-Atlantic coastline all the way into Monday morning. Again, the time period for potential impact of the Mid-Atlantic region, anytime from Saturday night through the day on Sunday and even into the day on Monday, which is Columbus Day. We'll move forward a little bit beyond that. It slowly moves away to the east, and here we go all the way out into the middle of next week, 1 week from right now. That system finally moves off the coast and have strong upper level ridging building in all the way from Hudson Bay, Canada, down into the Gulf region. Now, I mentioned this cold front numerous times here, and this is an important cold front here. Not only will it act as a catalyst for the development of that surface low over the southwestern Atlantic this weekend, but it will usher in the coolest air of the season so far into the Mid-Atlantic, into the northeast U.S. Quite likely the first frost of the season later tomorrow night into early Friday morning. These are the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. Certainly cooler today than yesterday, and it turns even colder relative to normal by the time we get into the day on Thursday. Thursday will likely be the coolest day of the season so far in the Mid-Atlantic, in the northeast U.S., and we'll see in a moment here with the surface forecast maps. By the time we get to tomorrow night, we'll have excellent conditions for radiational cooling in that a strong surface high pressure system will kind of park itself over the northeastern states, allow for clear skies, light winds, the first frost of the season in many of those northern and western suburbs of D.C., Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City here by late tomorrow night, early Friday morning. Temperatures dropping way down into the 30s in many of those areas, included in the frost threat interior sections of New Jersey. Then we get into the day on Friday, and here's where we'll really start to monitor that coastal low. And you can see kind of the impact on the 850 millibar temperatures right in this area right here. There's a surface low pressure area by Sunday night, pulling warm and humid air onto the eastern flank of that storm system, and still chilly air relative to normal on the northwestern side of that developing system that at this time rides up to just off the Mid-Atlantic coastline. Now let's take a look into the early part of next week, and here goes. It ultimately reaches kind of a wall in the atmosphere, cannot go farther north all the way into New England, but likely stays maybe, let's say, Long Island, south, and then starts to rotate before it finally pulls away from the coast here by the early to middle part of next week. Now let's take a look at the surface forecast maps. And again, the cold front working its way slowly right now through the Mid-Atlantic region with some rainfall, beneficial rainfall in the northeast U.S. A disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms right now near the Bahamas, just to the east of the Bahamas. But once this frontal boundary zone, here it is by tonight, right in this area right here, and let's move forward here in time. Once that frontal boundary zone, you can see it right here, drops south and east into the southwestern Atlantic, and here it is right in this area right here, stalled out frontal boundary zone. It leads to low-level convergence, which in turn allows for surface pressures to fall, and by the time we get to the early part of the upcoming weekend, you start to see a consolidated area of lower pressure at the surface. Here we go by Saturday morning. Again, that frontal boundary zone has stalled out now in this region right here. Surface low pressure is getting ready to really take off, to intensify rapidly. Here we go on Saturday morning, then midday, and then by Saturday evening, we have a very healthy storm system pounding away at the Outer Banks. Once again, they've had a couple of tropical-like systems pounding away. This may not become a named tropical storm, which is in a way irrelevant to the situation, because whether it's a named tropical storm or not, the coastal Carolinas will be pounded away by this system with heavy rain, strong winds. Because the frontal system will act as a catalyst for this storm system, it may not be named a tropical storm. When fronts get involved, NOAA's National Hurricane Center tend to refrain from calling it a tropical system. Again, that remains to be seen, and in some ways it's unimportant, especially for folks along the coastal Carolinas. Then we get into the second half of the upcoming weekend, and there certainly are increasing signs that this system will be able to push far enough north to have an impact in the Mid-Atlantic region. Here we go by midday on Sunday. Very strong storm system, basically a classic nor'easter. They're not going to call it a tropical system. We can call it a classic nor'easter at this particular time. The same kind of impact with strong onshore flow of air. In this particular case, from the Carolinas all the way up to the Jersey coastline, maybe even Long Island here, midday on Sunday. And it will become a slow mover with strong high pressure region off to the north and east. It will not be able to push all the way up the coast into northern New England. It will come to a halt by the time it reaches the northern Mid-Atlantic coastline. And here we go by early Monday morning. Again, that time period of possible impact in the Mid-Atlantic all the way from Saturday night into the day on Monday. Again, this is about the farthest north this system is likely to go. And then it kind of starts to rotate around and push off ultimately to the east-southeast. This is now all the way into Tuesday morning. Here is that system. Again, a likely scenario here that there will be kind of a block in the atmosphere by the time it reaches the northern Mid-Atlantic coastline, eastern New Jersey or Long Island, whatever the case may be, where this strong upper-level ridging and surface ridging over southeastern Canada. By the time we get to the middle of next week, it finally pulls away from the coastline a little bit here. And by the time we get to a week from right now, this is next Wednesday, the middle of October, the 15th of October. So a very interesting weather pattern going forward. Important players is cold front right now pushing through the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S., ushering in the coolest air of the season so far, and likely the first frost of the season for many in the suburbs of the I-95 corridor region, late Thursday night into early Friday morning. Once that frontal system moves over the southwestern Atlantic, surface low pressure will intensify significantly and from a strong coastal storm near the Carolina coastline later this weekend, and then likely along the Middle Atlantic coastline later this weekend into the early part of next week. That's it for now for ArcfieldWeather.com. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.